With the start of the school year right around the corner, the transition from summer to studying and in a pandemic may increase stress and anxiety in children and even parents. With her thoughts, we're joined now by child, youth, and family therapist Tania DaSilva. And Tania, it's crucial for parents to really recognize the signs of anxiety in their child. So what are some of those initial signs to start?
So it's funny because one of our initial signs is always if our kids are withdrawing. But with COVID, we've all kind of been forced to withdraw a little bit. So we're kind of looking at other things now. So especially with back to school coming up, we're asking parents to look at, are you noticing sleep changes, eating habits that are changing as well? Are we noticing, behavioral outbursts or emotional outbursts? Or are they being a little bit more obvious where they're starting to ask a lot of questions and show us that they're worried through their questioning, or even through them flat out refusing and saying that they don't want to go back, or they're trying to bargain with you about going back. So those are some of the more obvious signs for sure.
And there is a lot of anxiety and concern right now for families on returning to school and what that will actually look like. So how can parents really connect with their kids during these times, as it's already kind of a challenge for youth, for example, to open up to their parents already?
I think it's really showing them that vulnerability and just normalizing kind of what we're all going through. So what we've been doing a lot in sessions, especially with our families, is talking about how we're all in the same boat. We're all trying to figure it out. Like, the guidelines are constantly changing. Schools are trying to figure it out day by day. So really just normalizing that we're all working together with this, and there's no real right or wrong answer. So, them being unsure and having questions and not being sure about if they're going to be successful or, how September is going to be is totally normal and absolutely expected. So I think really normalizing it and giving them that space and that feeling of validation helps them feel a little bit more open to opening up to us about anything else that's on their mind too.
Now, you suggest also making the most out of family meetings. So what do you recommend there?
We've actually been doing this for the last couple of weeks with families, and it's something that's working really well, and it's something that we actually encourage to continue even when school starts. So having a family meeting where we all get together and we start talking about, any new information that we've heard over the week that we want to discuss, any questions we have, any worries we have, any routine that we've got back into that we want to, go over as a family and discuss what's working, what's not working. So creating a time where we all come together, and that's what we're using the space for, is to talk about our worries or talk about our questions, adds a lot of value, because if our kids are worrying about something throughout the week, they now know there's going to be a time and a place where we're going to address this together.
And how can parents work to normalize the environment at home?
And that's something that I kind of touched on already as well. But, having those conversations about, whoever it is, especially if we're looking at the news, a lot of the times we're watching and the information is changing. So we actually use that as a normalization technique where, the premier, our, health ministers, they're figuring it all out too. So we want to normalize that for them. Things are changing day by day. And for us within our home, things are also going to change. So maybe our plan is that we're going to go back to school, or I'm going to go back to work. But things might change along the way. And if it happens, we want to tap into our resiliency. So we've all been home for months, and kids are actually really underestimated. I find, in this time where they've become really resilient. They were able to adapt and bounce back through most of, what we've experienced through COVID. So come September, they're going to be resilient, and we'd always like to tap into their strengths and how they've done it so far and how we're going to continue to be able to do it as September rolls around.
And Tania, any final advice for parents out there as they continue to navigate through this new reality and help to prepare their child for the return of school?
My biggest piece of advice is just to be easy on yourself and be easy on your kids and the teachers and everybody else that we come across, because we're all kind of figuring it out day by day. We will get there. There's going to be definitely bumps, but just, practicing self-compassion is a really big one right now.
All right, Tania DaSilva, we appreciate your insight and your time. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.